Welcome to the Radio Free Hub City Newscap, live from the Honey Pot Acres studio in Hagerstown, Maryland. I'm your host, DJ Warbuckler, the Red Pill Yahoo, and joined by me today is DJ BB, the Dingbat. What is the Newscap? It's a podcast format show where we talk about local and global news that matters the most to Hub City. The full recording of this show, now that I've actually pressed the recording button, will be available through Spotify as well as X for replay. Unlike our regular monthly newscap, tonight's episode is an in-depth look at a single topic important to Hub City residents. Now, before we get started, I wanted to take a moment to tell our listeners that today's newscap is sponsored by Honey Pot Acres Farm. Are you craving some heat? Get ready to wrestle with the flavor of Honey Pot Acres Farm's Hagerstown Gator Sauce. This hot sauce packs a punch that'll leave your taste buds grinning like a gator. Perfect for spicing up anything from breakfast to barbecue, it's the kitchen companion you didn't know you needed. Snag a bottle at the Sharpsburg Farmers Market or order online at honeypotacres.com. Honey Pot Acres Farm, because even your food deserves a wild side. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and talk about tonight's topic. Tonight's topic, BB and I, now that I've actually remembered to press record on the space, so we actually were about 10 minutes into the space when I realized, I'm not recording. Oops. So tonight's topic is actually the crime in Hagerstown, and specifically some of the violent crime issues we've been having lately. And we wanted to take a look. We actually took some time to use a survey online through the Radio Free Hub City website as well as social media to poll Hagerstown residents regarding their concerns with crime. And specifically, we actually used it to map out what parts of Hagerstown, where the concerns were, and what sections of Hagerstown, as well as get a better idea of some of the community involvement and get some real good data that, might help us figure out some ways to at least, reduce the crimes. So, BB, I'm going to turn this over to you. Once again, apologies that you've got to do the intro again on why we did this. But good news is I am recording this time.
Hey, now I have to twist my arm to talk some more. So this project actually came about because, as a lot of you might know, if you don't, here's a newsflash. I actually enjoy Facebook discourse. Okay. I love me some Facebook groups, especially local community groups. And one of the actual serious issues seems to be that people that live downtown and work downtown, but mostly people that live downtown, they seem to feel like nothing is being done about the issues that affect them the most, and if action is taken, they just feel like it's just not the action that they feel is going to bring about any kind of actual helpful change. And I made the joke that we're going to rock it till the wheel fall off, like removing the benches, like, that, whatever. So it seems like a lot of people are frustrated. So this particular data gathering project, it came about because someone was actually blaming the mayor personally for not taking action on an issue. And so I spoke up in the comments and I just said kindly, like, hey, the thing that you're upset about, the action that you were hoping for, is not actually in the mayor's capacity. That would actually be the city council. And so I am all for placing, blame on appropriate parties in any given situation, but it's not very productive to place blame on the inappropriate party. Okay. So I just shared that when I don't know whose job is what, I find it very helpful to watch like live stream meetings, work sessions, things of that nature. That way I find out, who is actually capable of and in charge of what. And so somebody countered with, yes, but it starts at the top. And so, because I am an argumentative sort, I countered back just kind of offhandedly with, no, it doesn't. It starts at the bottom because that's where the problems are. And immediately the entire comment thread seemed to like change course and latch onto that. Like people really liked that idea. And they were wondering, like, okay, but so if we get statistics and data, they generally come from the city, like the municipality, or law enforcement, or the health department, or any of these other official entities that are very often applying for funding or asking for a change in legislation or regulation or something like that. And so people feel like this data is not maybe not intentionally, but they feel like a lot of times the data people are gatekeeping it until it serves a purpose. And so and we also realized that we don't have any official data that comes from just the community. And so what is happening is we are having meetings, we are forming, task forces and special panels and things like that to discuss a lot of these problems, but we're still working with the data from official entities like the health department or the police department or the city. And so let's say there's a crime, a shooting is obviously one of the scariest, most dangerous crimes that our community experiences. So that goes down as one incident as far as HPD is concerned. That's just the nature of their report. And that does not take into account all the people on that street that experienced that incident and how it might have affected them, or how the follow-up investigation might have affected them. So what we wanted to do is talk directly to the people, whoever wanted to share information. They did not have to give us their name, but they did give us their location of residence, and they could very honestly tell us what it is that they're actually witnessing and what they are most concerned about. And so then we could take that data and analyze it and kind of come up with some solutions. And the response that we got was tremendous right off the bat. And that's very exciting because that tells us that not only can we gather and analyze data, we as a community can start working within the laws and the regulations that we already have to take our own action. And we don't have to wait for a committee to approve something. We can just, and that was kind of the branding, I guess, of this project was that we are not going to gather this data and give it to the city council or HPD or the health department or any sort of entity. We are going to release this to everyone together so that we all get the same bird's eye view and we're all looking at exactly the same information that is motivated by absolutely nothing on our end. Neither one of us lives in city limits. We're not being paid for this. We just saw a lot of people very, very frustrated that there was, short of going to a city council meeting or perhaps a meeting that a private citizen had set up or joining some sort of organization, that there was no one just asking the people, what do you see out your window? What happened in your yard? Did your trash can get stolen? What's happening to you that might not have gone reported to police or might have already been reported by someone else? So, that's just the basic overhead of what this project was, to talk to the people that are experiencing these problems that we are trying to solve and see from their perspective what they are witnessing and what they are most concerned about. Because to me and to my sensibilities and to Radio Free Hub City, that is going to tell us, we're going to let the data tell us what the solutions might be instead of just throwing spaghetti at the wall, which seems like that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well said, BB. And, like you said, I just want to reiterate, we did not get paid by anyone to do this survey, to do this research, to analyze this data. This is completely community source data. There was no financial incentive for people to take the survey either. So, this is raw, honest, and open data as pure as it can be. We got about 30 some responses and a very nice geographic mix. all points around Hagerstown, including a couple responses from the Funkstown area as well.
And we want more. The survey's still open.
Absolutely.
We're going to keep it open. So this is an ongoing project.
Yeah, but we just felt it was important to go ahead and release the initial process data.
Yes.
And as we allow people to continue to contribute, we can also monitor trends. Or is the concerns going down? But one of the things that I said for a while that and sadly I don't think it's the case anymore. It is now the case that Hagerstown has a crime problem. For the longest time, I said that Hagerstown did not have a crime problem. Hagerstown had the appearance of a crime problem. And that was just because people were concerned. Now, I'm going to say now that based upon the extremely large number of shootings which have occurred in the past couple months, yes, Hagerstown now has a violent crime problem. And yes, something needs to be done.
And we are on the federal government's list. We are right up there with DC and Baltimore for we are listed as a high intensity drug trafficking area.
Yeah.
So the federal government does acknowledge that Hagerstown specifically, not Washington County, not Frederick, Hagerstown is on this list.
Right. Yeah. And so we broke down the crimes into 3 different categories. And that was violent crimes, drug crimes, and property crimes. And, so I've got the map up right now for where each of it plotted out. What was really interesting is, if I look at the map, for all of the maps, there's a real strong focus in the core of Hagerstown for all 3 crime types. But then if we go to property crimes, it seems there's more property crime outside of the core of Hagerstown to the east of town. If we look at drug crimes, it seems there's more drug crimes outside of the core of Hagerstown to the west. And then what really made me stop and pause for a second is the violent crimes. Now, a lot of people have been linking the violent crimes to just the drugs, but apparently it's more than that. Apparently it's also linked to the property crimes as well, because the reports in our survey regarding violent crimes were actually higher to the east of Hagerstown than they were to the west. So the fact that we've got a hotspot to the east of Hagerstown, and then for violent crimes in the core, to the southeast inside the core is violent crimes. To the southeast in the core is drug crimes. To the northwest in the core is property crimes. So it looks like all 3 of these are actually linked, but there's just varying degrees of how much of it is property versus how much of it is drug linked. So it's really interesting data.
One of the things that I kind of wanted to remind everybody or inform everybody, okay, in this data collection is that, okay, I do not personally live in Hagerstown city limits. That being said, on a nice clear day, if I was any sort of athletic person, I live in Halfway. I could throw a football into city limits. So, a lot of the crime, like when people say Hagerstown and Hagerstown crime statistics, Halfway is not counted in HPD's statistics, because this is Washington County Sheriff's Department response out here. And yes, there are joint task forces and things of that nature, but when it comes to actual number of crimes comparatively, Halfway is right where 70 and 81 is coming together. This area is very prone to human trafficking. We have had violent incidents out near the mall, Garland Grow, drug crimes. We have a large unhoused population out here. And so, I don't get to vote for mayor. I don't get to vote for city council. I technically do not live in Hagerstown. But for all intents and purposes, I absolutely do live in Hagerstown. These are Hagerstown businesses. And when people say Hagerstown, Halfway and areas like that, Mogginsville, we include that when people say Hagerstown, Maryland. And so that's another thing that we wanted to do, is just kind of put all those statistics together so that they were not individual data sets. And like you said, we could actually see on a map that, perhaps some of these crimes are actually worse in other areas, that just are not immediately within city limits.
Yeah. And so something else that's interesting too is, so if we look at the actual distribution of how concerned are you about crimes? All right. So for property crimes, the average response was 3, which is moderate concern. The scale goes between 1 to 5. For drug crimes and violent crimes, the average the most common response was 5 for highest concern. With that said, drug crimes was an overwhelming 50% of the respondents said 5, where with the violent crimes, only 30% of them said 5. So the biggest concern that Hagerstown residents appear to have is actually drug crimes, not the violent crimes, but the violent crimes are creeping up there in concern level. So take that for what it's worth. It's it's definitely on a lot of people's minds.
Yes. And a lot of time that there is a lot of overlap. There is more overlap with drug crime and violent crime, where like a drug crime is more likely to be violent than, say, a property crime is more likely to be violent. So drug crimes, of the 3, drug crimes and violent crime have the most overlap.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at the actual data, then, as far as I asked them, in the past 12 months, what kind of these crimes have occurred immediately in front of your home, as well as within a block from your home. The number one crimes reported in both instances were drug usage and drug distribution. No one who responded to the survey actually had a murder occur in front of their home. They did, however, have assaults, shootings, and stabbings, but those were some of the lower ranked crimes that occurred in front of their homes. But there was a higher instance where, okay, yeah, it didn't happen in my home, in front of my home, but it happened within a block of my home. But the drug usage, once again, is the most common one, as well as drug distribution. Right. So that's the biggest concern. Now, something that then BB and I did with the survey, we asked a couple of questions regarding security cameras and neighborhood watch. So the neighborhood watch data, that was interesting in that I think that being part of a neighborhood watch seems to bring more awareness to people as far as what crimes are occurring in their area. But I don't know if it's actually having an impact on the actual number of crimes. But the security camera ownership, that's the really interesting data point. BB, this was your brainchild as far as, including this question. Why don't you talk us through that a little bit? Talk about the actual results that are in the survey.
So whenever, I try to, I don't live in downtown Hagerstown, and that is one of the biggest, I will say, beefs, okay, that we have run into, where people feel like the people that can facilitate change and are responsible for keeping the city safe and things, the biggest complaint is that the majority of those people don't live in Hagerstown, so how can they understand? And we did not want to be, more of those people. But when I saw the statistics for Halfway, and then I took a look at my own neighborhood, I always try to relate things to a personal level if I can, okay? And I realized that my entire neighborhood, though we live in Halfway, we actually have a really, really low, I would say, the frequency and incident of property crime, certainly violent crime and all of that. And I am pretty confident in saying that one of the reasons is because pretty much everyone in my neighborhood has cameras, and we all have a private neighborhood Facebook group. You have to live in the neighborhood to join this group. And we watch out for each other, as simple as like, hey, Amazon said my package was delivered at 4 p.m. and I don't see it. And everybody will be like, nope, here's my camera at 4 p.m. Didn't come to my house, sorry. To, hey, this guy's walking down the street trying to see if cars are unlocked. Everybody, go check your stuff. Or if there is an incident, some of the neighbors will get together and go make sure nobody needs help. And while we wait for law enforcement if need be, and we all kind of watch out for each other. So I wanted to know the actual, like, if that was just an anomaly for my neighborhood, if it really, if it really do be like that. And it turns out it really do be like that because a property that has surveillance, and that could be as simple as a doorbell camera, just having that camera reduces the risk of property crime or crime occurring on that property by at least 300%. And I found that incredible. So I did a little research as to what the camera situation is like in downtown Hagerstown. And so I realized that HPD does have some cameras up, but not that I could find in these residential areas that are experiencing the highest volumes of these crimes. And I think we all kind of notice how after a crime has occurred, HPD very often asks if anyone has surveillance that might have helpful information, can you please voluntarily submit that? But I found that also on the City of Hagerstown website, if you do have home surveillance, there is a section where you can sign up to have your footage go through the HPD Watch Center, their surveillance center that is manned by both civilian employees and law enforcement. And they can only use this footage, if there is evidence of a crime. But I also found out that all Hagerstown Housing Authority properties do have cameras and they do participate in this program. And so we got to thinking that, cameras these days are actually very affordable. A doorbell camera retail, I don't know what kind of deal like law enforcement could get or whatever, but a reputable brand doorbell camera is less than $20. So two of the questions that we asked our survey respondents is, if a security camera was made available to you for free, would you want one? And how likely would you be to go ahead and voluntarily enroll that in HPD's monitoring program that they already have set up?
Yeah, and the overwhelming majority, and here I'll even let me pull the exact numbers up. So the overwhelming majority said that yes, they would be interested in sharing footage, but they currently don't. That was 63%. 10% of respondents actually said they already share footage with either HPD or Washington County Sheriff's Office. But also a very overwhelming percent as well said they provided the option for a free security or doorbell camera with the intention of having it face the public street. Would you take advantage of this program? 66% said yes. And then 23% said either not interested or not needed. So only 10% of the respondents did not have a street-facing view. So they live in apartments. So, but that 66% yes, that yes, they would be interested in a free security or doorbell camera to have it facing out to the public street. Absolutely fantastic.
And to be clear, no one would have this would not be, like the general public would not be able to just view your surveillance camera. Nobody would be able to do this, but except the resident. And then only in the event that perhaps that camera was in a place that possibly caught a crime that is under investigation, then HPD could review the footage. And I feel like this, when they ask after the fact, to me, this could just be me, but to my sensibilities, that kind of implies that either you are suggesting that you think that people have cameras that may have caught information that would be crucial to solving this crime, and they have just decided not to share it with you, or you're just not bothering to get a warrant for this footage. So to me, it seems like it would be much more proactive, and it's a lot less pressure when you ask people publicly after the fact. I think we need to remember that, especially in cases of drug crimes and violent crimes, people might feel like they are at a personal risk if they offer information to aid a law enforcement investigation. And I know that sounds terrible, but that's the real world. People do worry. It's not snitches get stitches is a ubiquitous phrase for a reason. There are a lot of people that feel like, if the police are walking down the street and they are knocking on everyone's door asking if you saw anything, if everybody else says, no, I'm sorry, and shuts the door, and people see them talking to you for 20 minutes, you may fear retaliation, especially if a motive is not known and a suspect is not known. You might feel like this person could be anywhere out here, and they might know that I'm the one that gave them up or something. You know what I mean? So it seems to me that an affordable way to 300% is an incredible step towards preventing crime. Even if it was 20%, it would still be worth the cost of just offering, hey, would you like a camera so that you can keep track of your residents? You can look and see who's at the door before you peek out the curtain. You can, see if someone messed with your car while you weren't home. You could see if your teenager snuck out while you weren't home and said they didn't. The same thing we all use surveillance cameras for. And then in the event of the crime, there are more cameras in an area that could all be collectively used to gather information and see if we might just have a little bit more information than we think this is an isolated incident. We're working on it.
Well, and so let me look at the actual data then in the report. So you said that 300% number there. So that was in a report that you read. So now the actual Hagerstown statistics. All right, this is the real data from the people that we surveyed that live in the Hagerstown area. Without security cameras, 60% of respondents reported at least one crime in front of their home. With security cameras, 46% of respondents reported at least one crime in front of their home. So that's what, a 24% decrease?
Yeah, and the 300% was specifically property crimes or crimes occurring on your property, not in front of. So that does track very well.
Yeah, and something else that's interesting too is specifically what we found there was also a slight trend, especially regarding drug crimes, that if you had a security camera in front of your home facing the street, the most common crime that would be prevented is drug crimes. There was other crimes as well that were lower, but drug crimes especially was the one, which that just happens to be the highest concern for Hagerstown residents is drug crimes.
Well,
and once again, it's all related.
People are more likely to do this. Everybody, I know that we all have concerns about paraphernalia in parks or residential neighborhoods where there are not 24-hour businesses, things of that nature. And I mean, that to me, that's just like, we can step out of like official data zone and just use our common sense here for a minute. Like, I really don't think that a lot of people, like, that's why they're going to these places. Nobody in their right mind is gonna be like, let me go commit felony drug crimes on camera. They're going to go places where they don't think that there is, surveillance, and there's not signs that say you're on camera, or you know what I mean. And that was the other thing, is that we did not specify, nor did the research that I pull, whether or not it was posted that a residence had surveillance. Yeah. Like if you had a doorbell camera, people might not notice that until you're right up on it. But if you have one of those little signs in the yard that just says like, smile, you're on camera, or that there's surveillance or whatever, like I can only imagine that those numbers will greatly increase, because who in the world is going to commit a crime on purpose when they know they're on camera?
Which, by the way, you can pick up those signs very cheap at Lowe's or Home Depot, and you don't actually have to have a security camera to put them in place. I'm just going to throw that out there.
And they could also be provided with, we just feel like offering residents an affordable camera is, we're all the time talking about how, yes, there are solutions, but they're widely untested or they're very expensive. This is an affordable mechanism. And so this also opens the opportunity for, if the city or HPD doesn't want to hop on board with this, individual organizations or individual businesses could do this as a charitable type of outreach. We already have lots of organizations and businesses that are sponsoring community cleanups, or I know right now one of the major concerns is the policy with Washington County Public Schools, where if your child lives within a mile of the school, they are generally not provided with transportation. So on one hand, we have this mentality that it is not even safe to have a bench in downtown Hagerstown. And then in the next breath, we're asking children to walk a mile through this alleged war zone. And that just is making no sense. So there has to be things that we can do that are affordable to facilitate a little bit more safety.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. So yeah, I mean, and I think that the targeted deployment of security cameras, private deployment, private ownership of security cameras, just that in itself would be tremendously helpful. Even if we don't get the government involved, even if you don't feel safe sharing your footage with the government, unless oh hey, I want to share with them because I caught this. You know what? Okay, that's okay.
Right.
Even just having a camera makes a difference.
They have just changed the laws, nationally, where if law enforcement has reason to believe that your home security camera, your Ring doorbell, whatever, did capture a crime or evidence of a crime, they have to get a warrant. They cannot, in the past, it was they could just contact like Amazon Ring or whatever and pull that footage. That has changed. And now they either have to get a warrant, just like they would for any sort of other search evidence, or someone has to give that voluntarily. And so that's the situation that we're in right now. They are asking people to scan a QR code every time there's a crime and fork over their footage that they may or may not have. So I feel like if you're asking people to take that responsibility upon themselves, the least we can do is make camera ownership a little bit more accessible.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Or you were telling me earlier that law enforcement could just put up cameras and take care of this themselves. But our data project is geared on what can people do? People that are tired of waiting for change, people that are tired of waiting for a safer neighborhood. What can we do? So that is one thing that we can do.
Yeah, and it's important also that, okay, so we're talking about between $15 and $50 a piece for a doorbell or security camera for someone.
Right.
The city is going to pay a lot more than that for a single camera. And the reason they're going to pay a lot more than that is that they not only have to purchase high grade equipment because it's going to be on 24/7, blah, blah, blah. And it'll be a constant feed and not necessarily just a motion activated like most of the doorbell cameras are. But also they have to pay for the internet access for that.
Right.
Where if you've already got internet access and you've already got your camera hooked up to your internet access, you're not paying twice for the security camera's access plus your own internet usage. It's all one bill. It's not going to affect your bill, assuming that you've got unlimited internet access, which most people do at this point now.
Right.
So, that.
And
So,
that was our entire goal with this, is to we realize that's very expensive for the city to put up cameras on every block, and also people might feel like that's invasive if they don't have access to what is actually being on the this is a way for residents to have access to their own footage. It is astronomically cheaper, and if you are going to ask people to be submitting their surveillance to solve crimes in their neighborhood on a regular basis, I feel like the least we could do is explore the option of providing the cameras.
Yeah, but the important thing is they'd be privately owned cameras, and the great fact about that is that so not many people realize this, but publicly owned security cameras, in other words, the security cameras that are owned by the city of Hagerstown or by Washington County Sheriff's Department, by Washington County government, those cameras are generating what's considered official records. That means that those cameras themselves are subject to Public Information Act requests, and they don't have to withhold footage of a public place, and somebody can put in a request for this day and this time, and they have to, as long as that camera footage still exists, they have to turn it over. Where if it's private cameras, privately owned cameras, you don't have to turn your footage over to anybody.
No.
So that's one of the reasons why I would advocate so much more for private cameras, because it's going to be more cost effective, and at the same time, it helps preserve privacy more. So
and
that's my thought.
We have kind of proof of concept with this, like I won't say vigilante, but more like guerrilla surveillance, because when the skate park first opened, I'm sure we all remember that everybody was saying that it should be shut down, and it was becoming a crime hotbed, and just all of the horrible things that went on there. And so we actually, the two of us, Radio Free Hub City, we pointed out that there are actually cameras available 24/7. You can watch the skate park 24/7 from the privacy of your own home. But we realized that, people probably feel like a creep doing that. So what we started doing was just getting the homies together and watching the cameras here and there together, and making it known on Facebook that, like, hey, we're, look at the bug that landed on the skate park camera, or like, oh, hey, this was funny, or oh my gosh, look at this person just throwing trash places. And the minute that we made it known that private citizens may or may not be watching, you stopped hearing a whole lot, there was a whole lot less about stuff going on at the skate park specifically. And so, that ties right into what I said about my neighborhood. My neighborhood is smack in the middle. If you look at the map and it's color coded green from super safe to like bright red, like I am Rudolph's nose red for several types of these crimes. My neighborhood specifically, I have never felt unsafe in my neighborhood. And we do have unhoused camps on either side of my neighborhood. We are right by both Virginia Avenue and Wasel Boulevard and Halfway Boulevard, and like right by the mall, right by the interstates. And I would say that the one thing that helps my neighborhood stay safe is that we all communicate amongst ourselves privately. Now, we don't go just putting it on Facebook for the public. We don't, every little concern we have, we don't just go blasting it, but we communicate with each other. And it's also helpful for like, hey, somebody's dog is lost. Oh, look, here it is. It ran across my yard at 7:00. It ran across the next person's yard at 7:30. It's going that way. Go get your dog. It's the modern equivalent of a neighborhood watch. And the nice thing about having cameras is that it helps you. You can participate in keeping your neighborhood safe, even if you're not home.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I have security cameras on all of my properties, monitoring 24/7. And, let me tell you something. It's really been nice. I've got them over at the farm monitoring.
Yes.
You know, I had somebody over there at the farm messing around, and you know, I get on the camera, and the nice thing, some of those cameras, you can talk through your phone to the person that's on the other end. I got on my phone, and I said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I'm lost." "Okay, well, go be lost somewhere else." And you know what? I didn't get broke in. Nobody messed with anything that way.
Right.
So
I really
think
enjoy it if
gives
my
peace of
husband's
mind.
not home and there's a stranger knocking on the door and I'm not sure if they're selling solar panels or if they're a serial killer. I just don't open the door. But also, you know, it helps keep an eye on if there's an accident. Then you can help the people gather evidence. Human trafficking. You know, if a kid gets snatched and 3 out of 4 houses have cameras, you are much more likely to be able to, or just even simple petty things like someone's trash can gets stolen, a bike gets stolen, a stolen bike gets ditched somewhere. We see all of these things on our cameras and we're able to work together, you know, to kind of help our neighbors stay safe, get their property back if it is stolen, or have evidence of who has done something, and also keep children safe, keep pets safe, keep elderly people safe. We have actually had that happen where one of our neighbors had a relative visiting that had dementia, and in the middle of the night, this person wandered off, and that's all it took was putting on Facebook, "Hey, Granny's missing." And the whole neighborhood was able to just check their cameras and find Granny, which was wonderful. So this is a way for the community to help keep your own property safe and keep your neighbor's property safe, because like we said, it starts at the bottom. It starts where the problems are occurring. And everybody knows if you call the police, it's going to take them some time to get there. And, you know, when there is a really horrible, violent crime downtown, we all see it on Facebook. They roll down there with the armored vehicle dressed like Call of Duty. Like they come, they roll deep, but it's going to take them quite some time to get there. And in all likelihood, the crime is no longer in progress and they're playing catch up. Now we're in investigation, solve the crime mode rather than prevent the crime or stop the crime as it happens.
Yep. Absolutely.
So if the people that are already there have that ability, and not only that, if you do choose to share your surveillance footage, you can just say to HPD, this happened at 4:52 p.m., scroll back. And they can just access that portion and compare it to other people's, and you can literally track a suspect or a crime the whole way in and out of your neighborhood, everybody working together, and it doesn't cost a lot. And it puts you in control of your own safety, and it puts you in control of initiating change so that you can come together as a neighborhood and say, no more. Our block is no longer the place for you to do your crimes. This is unacceptable. We have to live here, not you. And we are no longer accepting this behavior. But you don't actually have to physically whip your door open and interact with the person, which can be dangerous, and we do not advise.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. Well, you know, I think we've done a good job here talking about the results and you know, what the data actually tells us.
This also holds law enforcement accountable, because when we initially started this, there were a lot of people that did confide in us that, listen, I called the cops and they came out and said, well, you know, there's nothing we could do. Nobody knows a thing. Sorry about your luck. You know, specifically with the trash cans, there's a lot of people that have had to buy, you know, everybody got those fancy smart trash cans for the smart garbage truck. And if that happens to get stolen, you are responsible for buying a new one. And someone asked me the other day, why are people stealing these trash cans, bro? And so I actually looked into it. And I'm sure that this is not 100% across the board the case, but in a lot of cases, unhoused people, homeless people, they very often steal trash cans because it is a place that they can leave their belongings and no one will think twice. Otherwise, they've got to carry them around with them all day or risk leaving them somewhere in a bag or by a bush that someone else might find and steal. And so it seems like that's a very popular option, is just to get a city or a county, wherever they are. This happens all over the place. So they get one of these trash cans That way they can just set it on the sidewalk and no one will think twice. No one will think that it is full of someone's personal belongings. They're going to assume it's garbage. And so they are a very high frequency stolen item. And again, this is a way where if somebody steals your trash can, at least you have proof that you were the victim of a crime.
Wow. That's amazing.
Right. And so you can also hold law enforcement accountable. You can say, well, fortunately for you, I do have some information about a suspect or a time or a direction that they walked off in. And that then nobody can say, well, I'm sorry, this is very unfortunate, but we have absolutely zero helpful evidence. We don't know what to tell you. This is a way where you can say, yes, you do. Here you go. I did my part. Now you can do yours. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, with that said, I do have a little bit I want to read about about the actual report as far as, how you can get it. But BB, any final thoughts you want to give before we wrap this up?
I just want to thank everyone for jumping right in. I honestly thought maybe we would get a couple of responses, and I was actually touched. And if you know me personally, you realize that takes a lot. Okay, like I'm not a. It takes a little bit. And just to wake up the next morning and see that perfect strangers had started to share this in community groups and say, look, someone wants to know. Someone is asking you. You can do it anonymously. Somebody gives a crap. And then everybody answering, and we even had people reach out with further information that wasn't included in the survey. Please keep doing that. Please keep sharing it, because the more data you give us, the more we can do with this, and we can hold our leaders and our law enforcement accountable. The more solid data that you give us to work with, the more accountability we are going to have, and the less excuses we are going to have, and the less confusion we are going to have, and we're going to feel a whole lot less helpless. Information is power. So the more information that people are willing to give us, the more power we all have. So thank you, and please continue, because we actually give a crap, and we know you do too. So I guess that's the last thing I have to say on that. Thank you for giving a crap. Good. Please keep giving a crap.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Fantastic. So this report that we've been talking about all night, it will be available on the Radio Free Hub City website, radiofreehubcity.com. I'm going to have a news article with a brief summary of the report on the website as well. It'll be on the homepage for a few days, and then you'll have to probably search for it. Just search for Hagerstown Area Crime Study is what you'll need to search for if you're listening to this after it's no longer on the homepage. The report itself is going to be licensed under Creative Commons. And what that means is that you download the report. You are free to redistribute the report any way you would like. You are even free to add to the report, modify the report, as long as you provide proper attribution and make sure that you clarify that, it was, what sections you edited and what sections we created. But you're all not allowed to sell the report. So that's going to be the only stipulation. And the license will be in the report itself. I could have made it a lot more restrictive license, but like BB and I said, we wanted this to be about the community. This is the community's data. I wanted the community to have this data. I wanted them to be able to build upon this data if they so choose and run with it, And by the way, this license also extends to local government. So if the local government wants to use this report, adapt the report, build upon the report, please feel free. The license already allows for that. You don't even need to reach out and ask us for permission.
That is one thing that I should have mentioned is we have had several city and county elected officials reach out to us, thank us, participate themselves. And so this is being generally well received by everyone. On all levels. That's wonderful. And we also, I guess just my final note is we also wanted to just give a little bit of hope. We were actually surprised. I was surprised to learn that I live in like stop sign red danger zone because I don't perceive it that way. And so I can only imagine if I lived in downtown residential and I woke up every day being told that I lived on the worst street in the entire city, that gets you down. That makes you feel terrible.
Yeah.
And so we were hoping that just with some real data to show, like, yeah, you know what, your neighborhood has problems, but you're not the worst. And here's what other neighborhoods are trying to do, to combat this. I mean, you could try it in yours too. Just give a little bit of hope. It's not hopeless. Is it bad? Yeah. Does it need some attention? Yeah. But is it beyond repair? Absolutely not.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said, BB. And with that, I believe that's it for tonight's newscast. So on behalf of BB and myself and all of the Radio Free Hub City family, thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us next time. And don't forget to visit our website for more local and national news at radiofreehubcity.com.